Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of The Last of Us Season 1, Episode 6, aka The Mandalorian Season. Welcome. I know
All
there's
right.
already the inevitable connections between the two shows because of Pedro, but it's also like, here is Joel leaving Ellie with someone else, only for Ellie to then determine that she wants to be back with Joel. There you go.
Yes, there's some similar
Yeah,
storylines going on here, but this show has really taken off in its own
I
direction.
know.
I mean, we have a really big cliffhanger here. I just gotta say, I really like that this show is not using sort of the mushroom infected in every single episode, that's not always the only problem that's going on, which is sort of pulled it away from other sort of shows and movies in the same genre. It's really nice. It's very refreshing.
Yeah, I love this episode. It's fun to joke about the Mandalorian just for the fun of it, but it's like this episode really had almost everything that, for me personally, that I'm gonna love out of a television show. It's just like really cool aesthetic, like great performances, Pedro, Bella Ramsey, like their scenes together in this episode.
Also, great music. Whoever on the staff there is a fan of Depeche Mode. Me too. That whole rendition of Never Let Me Down Again was so good and so well done. I love the music on this show.
You were here for the Depeche Mode. I was
So much Depeche Mode.
I was here for like the music earlier on in the episode when they were like on horseback. I started to be like, are we watching The Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption? I'm not sure what video game we're going into anymore, but no, we got to talk about that cliffhanger, everything that happened, what we saw of Maria, what we
Yep.
know about Tommy, this new world. But hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other coverage we have for the rest of The Last of Us moving forward. There's only a few episodes left this season, but there's a season 2 coming. Nothing terrible's ever going to happen in that season, so just go ahead and subscribe right now.
Also, we have a lot of other great shows coming up. Bel Air's coming up next week. Snowfall's coming up next week. Blacklist is back.
Yeah,
Mandalorian, we're going to be covering that here too. Survivor, hit that subscribe button, stick with us, and follow us over on Instagram, Matt and Jess TV.
is Joel dead?
No!
Okay. Here's the thing, and this is always the delicate tightrope and sort of getting into this sort of idea because I can already sense what a lot of comments are going to be immediately. But here's the thing: is that the show, in theory, it's its own beast. Like the same
Yep.
creative team from the game was involved in the show. They could always change things up. They can always do whatever they want on the show version. Like they clearly, in giving you this cliffhanger, they at least want you to, even if it's just for a split second, think about the idea.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And they have set up on this show that really no one is safe. A lot of the people that they've introduced us to are gone
Yeah.
already. I mean, I was surprised that Tommy made it out of this episode alive. I was like, "What? He's alive? How? How's that happening?" Oh, well, Joel might be dead. And yeah, it's unlikely that they're killing off Joel, but they have set this up that anyone could go. Is it possible that they're going to sort of move away from what was going on in the game and bring in Tommy instead? I mean, the actor is busy on other stuff as well. I don't think that that's where they're going with this though. But my tinfoil hat theory
Yeah,
for
yeah.
all of those who have or have not played the game is when Joel got stabbed, there was a moment that I was kind of like more worried about the idea that that thing had been covered with some sort of fungal
Yeah.
infection and that there would be more pressure on Ellie to be able to get to where she needs to get to and help get this cure. And that if they're able to do that, then, what does the world then look like? Is it everybody saved? Or is it, certain parties move in and start to take over that cure and only give it to certain people and the world still isn't fixed?
Yeah, like, well, that is the big thing, right? Is that this would be highly politicized in like this theoretical universe where
Yes.
Ellie goes and the cure, because it is like that is the biggest currency that anyone would have in this world.
Hmm.
Like they would use that to assert their power, and there's already a real fear of like stable society in that it is so hard to come by that anyone who is able to establish, like, just even like the teeny tiniest shred of it,
Mhm.
like, they will adhere to the strictest possible standards to make sure that nobody comes in and messes up their good time. Like, that is the whole idea of the Maria Tommy universe that was established here. You know, nobody goes west of the river because if you do, we ain't ever seeing you again.
So it was a very interesting sort of setup that it was like 3 months later, and we had a little bit of a time jump, and we saw that during that time, Joel was still very closed off. He was getting
Yeah.
more and more and more inside himself, that he was having these like panic anxiety attacks. He's just reliving everything that happened with Sarah. The more time he's spending with Ellie's getting more and more in his head. He can't breathe. I thought that that was a really interesting angle to be taking with this show, because that is what would be happening to people, and seeing that happen with Joel explains why he was having a harder and harder time opening up to Ellie, to the point that when he does meet up with Tommy, he's like, listen, like, I just don't think that I can handle, like, I'm having these panic attacks and anxiety attacks. I just don't think that I'm the person that's going to be able to protect her. And at that, at the beginning, he actually lied to Tommy, which I thought was really kind of shocking.
Yeah.
Like, I know they haven't seen each other in a while, but that's his brother. So for him to come in and kind of be like, oh yeah, Tessa's fine, she's alive. Oh yeah, Ellie's just looking for her family, and one of them's a firefly. I was like, what's happening here?
Like, clearly Joel, doesn't matter who Joel's around, that is his first instinct, is just to immediately not open up about anything, and maybe down
Yeah.
the road there's like different speeds as to which he will open up with Tommy, because like he said, this is his brother. He's able to sort of get to
Mm-hmm.
this place maybe a little bit faster than he would be with some other people. But
And he did.
yeah, and he did. And it was really important that we got there, because I think it's very important for the show to sort of justify, okay, this is why Joel would be willing to not so much leave Ellie behind, but sort of pass on his responsibility to someone else, because it's like, number one, he's got trust in Tommy. He's willing to tell him
Mm-hmm.
some stuff despite his initial hesitancy. You know, two, the panic attacks that you mentioned, he's
Mm-hmm.
starting to have this feeling of, okay, you know, I want her to be okay. Am I going to be the person who actually is able to make that happen? And they presented, I think, all of that in a way that I could believe it, in a way that I could understand it. If Joel was just sort of like, "Bah, you know, here is Tommy who just knows the area better, and that's the only reason," I would have just been like, okay, you know, shut up. You guys are just doing a lazy plot device.
No, it was a really good conversation where Ellie overheard that she was getting passed off to Tommy, where she was just like, no, like, everyone in my life has left my life in one way or another. Like, I'm going to be more scared if I'm with this stranger than if I'm with you. You've been protecting me for all these months. I've been protecting you all these months. We are a team. Like, you can't just hand me off like that. So it was nice, of course, to see. I mean, we all knew that, you know, he wasn't just going to hand her off, that he was in the stable being like, I was ready to steal this horse 30 minutes ago, but here I still am. And Tommy's like, I would have given you a horse. Like, it's good. You can have a horse.
That was great. Yeah, him saying, you know, I'm going to give you a choice, and, and just Ellie immediately being like, you know, Ellie was firing on all cylinders throughout this episode, in
All
between, you
cylinders.
know, the one-liners with Joel in the early on, her swearing up a storm immediately after she arrives to this place, her understanding of manners, like everything Ellie did was really great. And I think it's good, just good to see her interact, I think, with other people as well,
Hmm.
because it is sort of opening up her eyes to the greater world. Like, Maria is fascinating to me in a couple of different ways. Number one, it's an HBO reunion. We got
I
Regina
know.
Wesley
I
back.
know.
Like, I love her. I was excited
Me
that she's
too.
in this episode. And just beyond all that, like, I'm so curious, sort of in the aftermath of all of this. Tommy's got so much more information now in his
Hmm.
conversations with Joel. Like, what does he do with all of that? Because, you know, Maria is with him. You know, they're expecting a child, but Maria also has these loyalties, perhaps, that Tommy does not. And so, what would she do with that information?
Yeah, I was very curious sort of how this town was really gonna be. I was like, is there gonna be some sort of surprise, some sort of governor or Negan's gonna
Yeah.
show up? Like what is going on with this town? And at this, where we are now, it's like, oh, this town is just a functioning town of 300 people that are like, we would like to have some stores and have some movie night and have a little bit of just normalcy in our lives. Hey, could we maybe even have some bacon? It's possible. And obviously we're only where we are right now,
Yeah.
but I like to think that there are these groups of people that have figured out how to live together in some sort of harmony. We saw that already laid out with Bill and Frank, that this is something that can happen. You can meet up with other people and it can be okay. It doesn't always have
Yeah.
to turn into Negan with Lucille.
Yeah, it's a nice reminder that people are still human. It's not every single society is just, messed up from top to bottom. There's a part of me that's like, could we have spent a little bit more time in this community, understood its dynamics? Yeah, but I get at the same time, The Last of Us is not really that sort of show. Like they're
Yeah.
really trying to push us forward towards an actual end goal, something that they want to get to without it taking 5 seasons. And like that's the big surprise to me is that we got to, I know it didn't turn out like expected, but we got to the Firefly base in this episode. I did not think that would happen until the finale.
No, I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but we've reached 2 Firefly bases now, and they've just been like
Yeah,
gone. Everybody's either dead, they fled, whatever. This is the second
yeah.
time this has happened to them. So, but at this base, it doesn't seem that there was, infected there or anything like that going on. There was some monkeys there. There was a couple of, I don't know, robbers, whoever it is
Yeah.
that stabbed Joel. We don't know who they are. Raiders, maybe? I don't know. But I mean, it's been different in each place of what's going on, but there's a pattern that's happening here that every time they reach a Firefly base, everybody is gone. So what is going on here?
We saw, that map. It seemed like there was a lot of points around Salt Lake City. I
Yep.
mean, maybe they're going to the NBA All-Star game that's happening there
Okay,
tonight, but
no.
no, I am really,
With their best friend.
yeah, okay.
Oh, Depeche Mode.
Uh,
So good song.
There's so much good stuff in this episode. I have one issue, and I'll say it right here. I'm out on the monkeys. The monkeys the CGI on the monkeys was not good. I'm just gonna stay. It took me out of the episode, and it's just sort of like you guys could have come up with something else that just did not make me be like, oh, there's some computer monkeys running around.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that, for me, I took away from the monkeys being there meant to me that whoever was there, the Fireflies that were there, they've left recently. I mean, if these were monkeys that were there from whatever was going on there, they would have probably left by now if this was months ago. Like maybe 1 or 2 might be around, maybe none, but they're not all going to be hanging out on the steps unless they recently left.
No, that's a good point, and I think it's important for this show to establish time, and they do a very good job with that. Whether it is the 3 months later, whether
Yep.
it is what's sort of going on, because it does sort of introduce that shred of hope here that maybe we're gonna see Joel and Ellie find someone kind of along the way. I mean, granted, they would have to move at warp speed to probably make this happen, and given Joel's current medical state, I don't know if that is likely.
Yeah, I mean, my tinfoil hat, or my hope,
Yeah,
anyways, is that Tommy went back and told Maria, and then they followed them so that they're going to be there to be able to help.
I think we're just
Like, I just really liked seeing them, and I really liked Tommy. I really liked Maria. I understand why she was kind of like,
yeah.
hey, Joel's not the guy you think he is, kind of thing, and Ellie being like, shut up. Yes, he is. But I mean, this might be a cool
Yeah.
dynamic if Maria was there with Joel to sort of see where he is now and sort of who he's become and his dynamic with his brother and Ellie. And like, I just think that that could make for some really good storytelling.
Yeah, and here's the crazy thing. They're not dead. That is so weird to
I
say coming
know.
out of this episode. Here's a prominent guest star who is not dead, who is still alive, who could come back at any particular point. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's extremely close to where they're going, but it's close enough. It's not like they're having to go all the way back to Boston or anything. So there's,
No, they said it's like a 5-day horse
yeah,
ride. So, who knows?
you guys can take the 5-day horse ride back and try to find a way to make this happen. But we're going to be eager to see what's coming up next. Just a
Yep.
really outstanding episode from start to finish. If
Mhm.
the only real issue is some bad CGI monkeys, I think we're doing pretty good at the end of the day. But hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss any other coverage. Thank you so much. We'll see you here next time.